King Kong Bundy.
I'm going through and watching all the old WrestleManias in honor of this year's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 40. And I started with WrestleMania 2. I'm going to do one next, but I started with 2 specifically because I've never seen WrestleMania 2. And I haven't seen it because I've heard how terrible it is. And oh, guys, it's so much worse than I thought it was going to be. I thought that maybe it was just kind of people being overly cynical of 80s wrestling, which is, it's not for some people. And I totally get that. But this is just the worst wrestling show ever. And I've watched WrestleMania 9 and 27, and I've watched a lot of those pay-per-views that get listed in like the worst of all time. And I hated this one with all of my being. I'm not going to talk about everything because not everything deserves my time, but I am going to touch on this match really quickly because this was the first match of WrestleMania, and it is a 3-minute match that ends in a double countout. What? This is maybe one of the most mind-numbingly dumb storyline plots I've ever seen in professional wrestling. Because this is face George Steele versus heel Randy Savage. And the storyline plot here is that Randy is like not treating Miss Elizabeth well. And Miss Elizabeth, of course, beautiful woman. I mean, she was like the peak. She was in the 80s. Like every boy wanted Miss Elizabeth for sure. And the storyline that they run with is that Miss Elizabeth isn't sure if she should stay with Randy, and the announcers keep pushing her to be with George Steele instead. Look at that man. That is who you think Miss Elizabeth should be with? You could have chosen a lot of different wrestlers, and this would have made a lot of sense. Right? I mean, this he has the padding from the turnbuckle. He's like a 60-year-old large bald man with the hairiest body ever to exist, and he's eating the turnbuckle padding. And then as soon as he's done eating the turnbuckle padding, he's pleading with Miss Elizabeth, be mine. Bobby the Brain Heenan, got to be the biggest day of your life. This is the biggest day. The first match in Chicago for this portion, after they get done with New York, and they have the boxing match, which I'm not even going to touch on. I won't even lie to you guys. I skipped it. I'm not going to watch 13 minutes of Mr. T and Roddy Piper box. It's just not going to happen, guys. Sorry. But it's Velvet McIntyre and Fabulous Moolah for the the ladies championship. Not the women's championship, the ladies championship. And this is a 1-minute, 30-second match. And I bet you're wondering, what does the Fabulous Moolah do to win this match? What's that finishing move she hits that makes things happen? Nothing. It's a 1:30 match. The final move is that Velvet misses a splash. Missing a splash loses you a match for the ladies championship? What are we talking about? The fans absolutely love this battle royal, and I get it, okay? This is fun. This is what you're thinking of when, WrestleMania 1 is built on Mr. T teaming up with Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 2, you get NFL players jumping in the ring. The Bears are just coming off their Super Bowl victory. They are so hot for William the Refrigerator Perry. There's another Bears player that doesn't get as much attention that I would like to touch on. And that is Mr. Jimbo Covert here. Jimbo Covert, right, he just gets in the match. He does his thing, goes out. They let him cut a promo afterwards. And he cuts a promo where he claims that he was cheated. How is he cheated, you ask? Somebody threw him out of the ring when he wasn't looking. That's a battle royal, Jimbo. What were you expecting when you signed up for a battle royal, Jimbo? Ozzy is teaming up to manage the British Bulldogs with Captain Lou Albano here, and he loves it. He's so high. He's so high, but he parades around the ring with the tag team titles that the Bulldogs win, like, you would be shocked while watching it to find out that he didn't just win the title himself, because he absolutely, like, is holding it above his head. Like, it seems like he accomplished something, when in actuality, he just stood on the outside to celebrate at the end when they won. I mean, it's phenomenal. He absolutely is like, I'm the tag team champion of the world, goddammit. I'm going to hold this title above my head. Do I even need to say anything about this part? The adorable Adrian Adonis is just cross-dressing right now for no reason. I mean, listen, that's his character, so that is the reason. But, like, what is this? In the 80s? That guy could get shot for that in the 80s. Like, and he is facing a very over Uncle Elmer. They're in Hollywood. If I know anything about the current landscape of America and the political spectrum, it's that these two are natural enemies. And in California, they're not rooting for Uncle Elmer. I promise you that one. I have so many thoughts about this main event that I'm only gonna do a little bit. So, first of all, they don't play into this rib injury anywhere near enough. Like, it's almost like 5 minutes in, they were like, oh, wait, you're supposed to be hurt. And I don't like the trope of, like, overplaying into it. So, I mean, I'm not too upset about it. But I absolutely think they should have done more with that. The climbing sequences are painful. And it just doesn't seem like King Kong Bundy's ever really a threat, like, for the title. It feels like he's doing things specifically to just try to hold back Hulk Hogan, and it never feels like he's trying to win the match. I don't know. It's definitely one of the lower end WrestleMania main events for good reason. But, I mean, it's 80s wrestling. It's supposed to be a spectacle. You don't expect going into a Hulk Hogan match that you're going to see a wrestling classic, and ditto for Bundy over here. King Kong Bundy is just a marvel. It's just, oh, look, he's huge. He has no neck. And that's really it. I mean, yeah. But ultimately, it's kind of, it's one of the better matches on the card. At least there's a spectacle to it. This was a horrible WrestleMania. This is easily one of the worst wrestling shows I've ever watched, and I like the 80s style of wrestling. I like the slow plodding pace. I like the overly dramatic heel and face dynamics that get brought up every single night. And even to me, this is just not it, guys. Do not recommend. I'd give this show overall like a 1 out of 10.